I think our defense will be much better than we were last year for several reasons. I think, as we've talked about before, we were extremely young last year. We had some freshmen on the field, but there were some freshmen that weren't on the field either because they just weren't ready. And while we had some upperclassmen out there with more experience, maybe more knowledge, we've got some freshmen that weren't on the field that have a lot more ability. So I really feel like that's going to be, it's got a chance to be the biggest improvement for us this year is our defense. Again, particularly because of the spring schedule that we had, the 10 paddock practices that we talked about, spring game. We were able to get a lot of young guys ready to play. So I expect that we're going to have quite a few sophomores on the field next year, and guys that people in the league haven't seen a whole lot of, haven't seen any of maybe. But these are guys that can run. These are guys that are very athletic. I think coming out of this spring, my feeling was that this is probably the most athletic defense we've ever had here. So we've had some solid defenses in the past, a couple of years, particularly 2009. Very successful, very physical, very hard hitting. We still want to do that, but I think this has a chance to be the most athletic, defense we've ever had, the fastest defense we've ever had, and that's something I think is critical if you want to play sound defenses. You've got to be fast, you've got to be quick, you've got to be athletic, you got to get the ball quickly and with a bad attitude. And I think we've got the ingredients for that. Coach Hoyt does a tremendous job with those guys, and I really feel like we've grown by leaps and bounds defensively, and so I'm expecting us to take a giant step forward in that area this year. Once again, when I look at our linebacking core, I think this is probably the most athletic linebacking group we've ever had here. I'd say that the real pleasure is getting Ryan Ott back. Ryan Ott, after he got hurt, his first game, second game of the year, lost him for the rest of the year, where he got a medical red shirt out of that, so we got an extra year of eligibility with him. But to have Ryan Ott back this spring, it made our whole defense better. Just having him on the field, he is that much of an impact player for us, and so I would fully expect Ryan to be not only our best linebacker, but one of our best players on the field, for us this year, and we're expecting, great things from him. Now, at the Ryan's at the Sam position. We've got on the inside linebackers, with the Mike and the Will. Probably going to be some new faces. Because we graduated some guys, but Darren Barnett has really come a long way. He's going to be a senior next year. Big, strong, physical linebacker. We're expecting some good things from him. And then one of the greatest surprises this spring has been Nelson Delgado. Again, Nelson's going to be a senior, and he's gotten better steadily. But from what I saw of him this spring, I think finally something really clicked with him, and he's taken his game to another level. And very excited about him. And then there's two freshmen that we're extremely excited about, Paul Hobbs and Matt Filosa. And both of these guys last year, as freshmen, were again very talented. Freshmen last year, they're going to be sophomores, but they were able to get on the field on special teams. Special teams was fairly easy to get on the field from a mental standpoint. It's a lot easier than getting on the field defensively. But now, again, through this spring and getting these guys experience that they've gotten themselves in the rotation. They played significantly, played key roles for us up in Canada in the exhibition game. And these guys are battling it out for the starting job. And if maybe they're not full-time starters, they're going to be starters in some personnel groups that we have. So very excited about the depth and the talent at this position, and I think it's going to be one of our strengths of our defense overall. Really, the go-to guy for us in the secondary has got to be Mark Bergery. Mark is one of our team captains. He's our only defensive captain that was elected by the team, and Mark has so much potential. He was a little bit hampered by injuries last year. He had some issues with his foot that are now healed. So I expect him to be fully healthy all year long and to be on that field for us full time. But Mark is a tremendous vocal leader, very passionate about the game of football, very passionate about his teammates, and he's really a leader in that secondary as well as a leader of that defense. What I'm looking for from Mark is to see him rise to his potential, because his potential is tremendous. And if he continues to grow at the rate he's growing, we're going to see that from him. But, there's some other guys in the secondary that we're really counting on. Michael Rice, again, he's going into his senior year. Michael's been on the field for us for the last couple of years at the other corner position, and looking for a big senior year out of him. And then David Webb, who was a freshman last year, rising sophomore. David really had a tremendous spring, extremely athletic, extremely fast, and he's challenging, for one of those corner spots. And he's probably going to be a guy early on that's in the rotation, and he's probably going to be at least a situational starter or a starter in certain personnel groups, if not a full-time starter. So we're excited about him. And then I mentioned earlier about Drew Peterson at the free safety position. He had a tremendous spring. Just keeps getting better, as I talked about before. And then Keith Bruno at the rover spot, or strong safety position. Very intelligent, player. Gets everybody lined up right, and everyone knows what they're doing. And that's half the battle, playing coverage, is making sure that we're all on the same page. Theoretically, any coverage will work as long as everyone's running the same coverage. And, Keith's one of those guys back there that he kind of, because of his understanding of the game of football, very football smart player, he's able to, kind of direct traffic and make sure everyone's lined up right and doing things the right way. We're all on the same page. And if you can do that, that's half the battle. So, again, it's a talented group, a group with some experience, but, some youth as well. Very talented youth. We're expecting, some big things for us in 2011. I'm extremely excited not only to have two all-conference defensive ends returning in Fran Hall and Donnie Gould, but these are the only two returning defensive all-conference players that we have. So, these are guys that, we certainly need to build around. Donnie is only going to be a junior next year. We have 2 years of eligibility with him. Fran Hall is going into his senior year. And Fran's gotten better every single year. And really, last year, both those guys were first-year starters. So for them to be recognized as all-conference in their first year as starters, it's pretty impressive. And obviously, our expectations are very, very high for both of those guys. And they have not disappointed this spring with their work ethic and what they've done to improve themselves and their performance and their role in making us better up front. And, we're still going to be young on the D-line. We've got some very talented guys inside, but a lot of those guys are going to end up, whoever's in there is going to end up being first-year starters for us on the inside. So, and we got a talented freshman class coming in, but the leadership, the experience really revolves around those two guys, in Donnie Gould and Fran Hall. So we need them to continue to step up, continue to improve, and continue to do their job, do their 1/11th on our defense. And part of that job is wreaking havoc in the backfield. And those guys have had some tremendous shining moments in that capacity. We need more consistency from both of them for them to take the next step, and as a result for our defensive front and our whole defense to take the next step. So those are guys that we're planning on building around, and we'd like to see great improvement from them, as we move forward here in 2011. Well, I'll say this: it's not going to be easy, because the MAC conference, plays great defense. I mean, top to bottom. There's very few have-nots when it comes to defensive football in this league. So, the competition is very fierce. But in terms of our defense, how we stack up, like I said before, I'm very optimistic. Once again, we're going to do what we do. We have a certain philosophy that we believe in. As I said earlier, I think we've got the personnel now, probably the most athletic personnel that we've ever had here. And you plug those guys into a fundamentally sound defensive philosophy, and I think you're going to get good results. But our goals, really don't change. Defensively, we're, first and foremost, we want to stop the run. If you stop the run, you make a team one-dimensional. You force them to have to throw the ball. Now, when you've got them one-dimensional, now you can pin your ears back a little bit and get after that quarterback and make sure he has a very, very, very bad day. But that's what, let's stop the run first. Let's dominate the line of scrimmage. Let's make them one-dimensional, and then we can have a little bit of fun back there in the secondary and, create some turnovers that way. Second thing we obviously want to do is stop the score. Keep people off the scoreboard. If we're losing some field position and the opponent gets a short field, let's hold them to a field goal. Keep them out of the end zone. But we got to stop the score. Next, we want to create field position so that we can win that field position battle for us as a team. We want to create turnovers. The more takeaways you can create, the better opportunity your team has to win the turnover battle. And if we can create 3 or more turnovers a game through fumble and interception, I think we're very likely to win that battle on a weekly basis. And then finally, defensively, we want to score. We want to be able to scoop and score. We want to be able to return an interception for a touchdown. We want to be able to, throw some key blocks that we can scoop and score that fumble and take it in. So that philosophy, again, doesn't change. We may make some, I should say we have made some changes defensively this spring in order to get our best 11 guys on the field, but the philosophy really remains the same. And, let's be aggressive. Let's keep things simple. Let's attack. Let's kind of dictate to the offense and make them do what we want them to do, whether it's run or throw. And let's have relentless pursuit to the football. Let's get there with a bad attitude and let's take the ball away. And if we can do those things and continue to get better in those areas, then I feel like we're going to stack up very well in the conference, and really the defense can make a name for itself in the MAC this year.